Tardy, late to the party, now you've got to party hardy is an expression that no one uses because it doesn't exist. I just made it up. Because it's been a couple of days since the New Japan Cup tournament came to a rousing conclusion with huge Tsuji, Yota Tsuji, coming out on top, winning the tournament, thus securing a shot at Tetsuya Naito and the IWGP World Heavyweight title at Sakura Genesis, on April 6th. And since I've made a couple of videos about the New Japan Cup and I haven't sat down to record anything else since the conclusion, well, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it here. I'm going to jump on the recording business and just give my final thoughts, bring some closure, at least on my end, to the 2024 New Japan Cup. But yeah, let's start by talking about the finals, right? David Finlay got sick and had to bow out of the quarterfinal match that he was supposed to have against Hiroki Goto. So that gave Hiroki Goto a bye right into the finals. Yota Tsuji, he had to go through Evil in the quarterfinals. And not only go through Evil, but go through the booking of House of Torture, which he did go through, which he did overcome. Thank the heavens. But that brought us to our finals, Hiroki Goto and Yota Tsuji. And I thought the match itself was great. A tremendous, hard-hitting affair that felt like that felt like New Japan. It felt like a good, well-worked, hard-worked New Japan match. I was really excited about it once it was done. And I know here Tsuji was the favorite, right? He was, in everyone's minds, and a lot of people predicted it to be so, was the guy who was going to win the cup overall. But the way they were putting Goto over, in storyline, the passing of his father and how he wanted to bring the cup and then the IWGP title to his grave, it had me believing that Goto had a chance here. Improbable as it was, granted, but enough to make me think, hey, you know what? If Goto wins, this is kind of cool nonetheless. Like a situation where you end up with whoever wins, there's a good argument for and is kind of dope. And it was fun to see Goto again in one of these situations, right? Where, one could argue in the mid 2010s, I should say, he was perhaps more of an upper tier guy, right? A top guy, an upper tier guy. We could have that argument. But this is a guy who right now, right? He's 44 years old and he still hasn't been introduced. He hasn't been added to the New Japan dads, right? Not sticking around and putting new guys over, working multi-man matches. No, this is a guy who can still go. He's not a top guy. And I think by him losing the tournament here to one of the up-and-comers, I think that's a clear indication. He's not a top guy, but he can still definitely work at a high level. And that was pretty fun to see. Now, would this have been different had Dave Finlay not fallen ill? That's a very good question. And I would argue, I would argue that no. I think Dave Finlay was the plan to go to the finals. And I think that we got ultimately a better final match out of Goto and Tsuji than if Dave Finlay had been there. But listen, outside of it all, outside of the whole thing with Goto, Tsuji won, which is arguably the best decision. He's one of these young guys. He's one of the Reiwa 3. He's over with crowds. He's over with nerds like me. People want to see the guy succeed. Like they see a lot of future. He's got the ability. He's got the charisma. I don't know how great of a talker. He seems like a very competent talker for the purposes of Japan. But, outside of his own personal attributes, it's about time New Japan starts giving proper pushes to these new guys instead of these stop and start things that they've been doing, particularly when, thinking about Shota Umino here, where at some point, you can rev up the machine only so long before you have to let it go, or the motor burns out. So it's good that they're going with that they're giving Tsuji the spot here, because like I said, you have to do something with these young guys, and especially with the young guys who are working out. Anyway, it's a great match. I gave it 4 stars. And I would recommend it. I would recommend it that if you want to watch it, a good, hard-hitting, no-nonsense match. It was good stuff. It was a good way to cap it off, especially to cap off especially capping off a tournament that had very little to recommend as far as individual matches go. Outside of Jeff Cobb versus Yota Tsuji from March 10, which I still think is the best match of the tournament, I really can't recommend anything else. There's nothing that stands out. In fact, I can't recommend this tournament. Let this be put on the record. Write it down on your calendars. Pull out your WarrenHayes stalker books and write it down here. Those little spiral notepads that you have where you write down everything that I say so that you can use it against me later on. Let it be put on record that I thought the New Japan Cup 2024 was a mediocre, dull tournament marred with bizarre booking and uninspiring matches. Though that's how I'd sum it up. With all the talent that exists in New Japan, there are people being booked into the situations that I fail to understand. Why are we insisting on adding Yujiro Takahashi to these tournaments? Or Toru Yano, or Tongaloa, or Hikuleo. Why? To a degree, Hikuleo I understand, but I also don't. I understand to a degree. Why do we need to have these wrestlers who some of them feel like they're mentally checked out, or who don't add to the excitement, the prestige, I guess, of the tournament, right? I know what you'll tell me. I can hear it resonating right now. But Warren, someone needs to lose the opening matches in the opening rounds of the tournament. Well, I'll put in Young Lions. Any of the Young Lions would perform more better. That's how crazy they'd perform. Would perform better than Yujiro or Tongaloa. You had Bolton Oleg in there, right? And that worked out fine. We knew he was going to lose, but we got a good little match out of it. Put in Nakashima or Oscar Lobe. Or here's a wacky thought. Here's an even wackier thought than if you're trying to fill out all these spots. Make the field smaller. Again, I understand why they make the field this big. There's business to be done. You want to go on tour. You want to sell tickets. I understand all of that. But, you could also benefit from just reducing the field. I feel like I'm having a G1 moment here. I feel like I'm rehashing points from the G1. The point is that we shouldn't have to sit through bad matches, especially if they're compounded with House of Torture nonsense, which ultimately overwhelmed the tournament. 3 out of the 4 House of Torture members who were in this tournament made it out of the opening round. So that means we had shenanigans galore. We just had them all over the place, and it was tiresome. I am not a fan of House of Torture matches. I really am not. You know this by now, and it makes me grit my teeth into a fine powder because when I see these matches happen, because they keep me from enjoying what I'm here to do. And that is watch pro wrestling matches. If I want shit marred with interferences and stories, whatever you want to call them, heat on this level, I know exactly what to watch. This is fine. But I'm watching this because I can't stand what they're trying to do elsewhere, but now they're doing it here. And it's just, as you can tell, it's breaking my brain. House of Torture matches just have you sitting there waiting for the first ref bump and the second ref bump and the third ref bump, complemented by usage of a chair or a wrench or a reinforced push-up bar, or for Dick Togo knife edging a guy in the balls as Walker Stewart gleefully exclaims, "Dick to dick contact." So you just wait around for this nonsense to happen. You just wait. And while you're waiting, you're not dumb. See, you're not dumb enough to invest yourself in a match knowing that this stuff is going to happen. So you're already taken out of the match. And when the nonsense does happen, it takes you out even more. And the wild thing, the really wild thing, is that I have heard so many Puro fans defend this as, oh, it's good, actually, right? Or pointing out the fact that it's getting reactions in the building, so this is good. And this boggles my mind. I don't know how anyone who gets into Japanese pro wrestling, especially the truly hardcore fans, look at this and praise it for being different than North American wrestling and go around and stick up for this junk. Because it's junk. That's all it is. And you know, who knows? Maybe I can show them a Roman Reigns bloodline match, and maybe they'll suddenly convert back to watching North American pro wrestling. Who knows? Anyway, New Japan Cup 2024. Great, solid final. One really great match throughout, and an overall forgettable thoroughfare of malarkey. Those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for watching here on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you would please. That'd be great. Otherwise, do that, and I'll see you next time.